Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I'm doing this video today in regards to how to create your home or your apartment or your lifestyle into a blue zone. So in the previous video, if you haven't caught that, I kind of talked about what the blue zone is and why it's important. Basically, pockets around the world have these really healthy communities, but also people who have lived really long with a better quality of life, the longevity. They were like more pockets of centenarians. So the blue zones have looked at what works in those communities and cultures and what doesn't. Now, in today's society in America, we live in a lot of high stress. We live in very sedentary type of communities or lifestyles because we are car dependent, but also now with coronavirus, we are being asked to continue to socially isolate ourselves, socially distance ourselves. So these things are really difficult because it's opposite of what a lot of the blue zone preaches. But you have the control, no matter how stressful your life is or your job is, or how stressful our culture is in America, we still have control to change our own personal environment. So when you are looking at blue zones, they have kind of four areas that are encompassed in the blue zone, which is movement, the right outlook, eating wisely, and connection. So within those four kind of macrocosms, you have nine, I guess, quote unquote, like they call it the power nine in the blue zones. So that's basically for movement, it's moving naturally. During right outlook, you have life purpose and downshifting. So downshifting is reducing stress, kind of calming down a little bit with things like meditation. In the eat wisely, you have three areas, which is the 80-20 rule, which is kind of eating 80% healthy, 20% might be kind of on the edge of being not so healthy. But traditionally, a lot of these cultures consume more whole foods because that's what is available. They don't have McDonald's and things like that. The plant slant, which means they're eating a lot of plant-based foods, higher amounts of produce and legumes. In addition to wine at 5, they have a healthy connection with alcohol that is connected to their social kind of environment. Now, in the realm of connection, they have 3 points, which kind of ends the power 9, which is finding the right tribe. Loved ones first, the family comes first, life comes first, and then belonging. So having a sense of belonging within your community, or just having that feeling of being valued within a community or in your life purpose. So not everybody has to recreate their whole lifestyle by doing blue zones. But for example, when I went through a divorce, I love nature. I'm in harmony with nature. You can see behind me, I like antiques. I like flowers. You have the opportunity to bring nature in. So as you've seen, if you've ever been on Instagram, you can find Instagram accounts that only post pictures of people's apartments with a crap ton of plants. The first thing is to start to create either a segment of your apartment or your home or room in general to declutter the space, get rid of things that you don't need or things that no longer serve you, and just bring a little bit of nature in. Maybe that's dried flowers or some succulents. Maybe it's just having flowers that you refill a vase every week. Whatever you can do to create some serenity in your environment. We humans are beings from nature, so we naturally feel at ease when we are in nature, but also when we can bring nature in. Maybe you just want to buy new plants, hang some plants from your ceiling, or get a bird cage and stick some plants in there. Anything that you would like to do. You can bring nature in to make your environment more peaceful and serene, and that helps reduce the stress, and it helps that time of downshifting when you need to reflect. Now, you can set up every room very differently. The Blue Zone project kind of has its own thing. But the one other way to start enhancing your quality of life and increasing kind of that more serene peacefulness is decreasing the access to technology or technological use in general. That's really difficult for people to do, obviously, because most of us are using technology for work. but we have control to live our lives outside of work. That doesn't just mean we're binging on Netflix. This takes some effort to be a little less antisocial and to become more proactive or social within a community. One Christian community out here that I'm a part of in Seattle, their whole purpose is to eliminate the Seattle freeze and to enhance community and that social connection, because they know how valuable community is and they don't think the individual experience is working. We have created a culture of consumerism and tech kind of junkie, this need to be on technology all the time. It's time to start, if you want a little bit more blue zone quality of life into your life, you have to start decreasing your technology. And maybe that's just watching a little less Netflix. Maybe it's actually going for a walk on Tuesday night instead of watching Netflix. And then maybe on Wednesday watch Netflix. It's not saying you have to do this cut and dry type of lifestyle, but even as I've learned when I lived abroad, some of the happiest moments of my life were when I was living my life. I wasn't sitting around watching TV after work. I was out engaging with people. I made friends. I went to English speaking groups where I met other, English speaking natives so I could have some cultural and human connection in a country that I didn't really know the language. So these things are so valuable and important, and other cultures understand that a lot better than we do in America. Now, movement is very necessary. In coronavirus, if you're still socially isolated, you do have the opportunity to move into your home with all these different realms like apps and YouTube that can help you move and virtual training. But now you have the opportunity, like in Washington State, they've opened up the city parks. Now is this time to start to commune with nature and move your body naturally. When you get that breath of fresh air and you're connecting with nature, things shift and change organically. You feel good about yourself. And guess what? When you feel good about yourself, you want to eat better. Now, the Blue Zone Project really focuses on a lot of plant-based meals. A dietitian that I once worked with, or a registered dietitian I once worked with, told me that she thought the Mediterranean diet was actually the healthiest diet on the planet. And I 100% agree. Now, there are some cons to the Mediterranean diet. Two of the cons is, one, sometimes when you eat so much acid, that does affect and wreck your stomach. There is a healthy balance point. I discovered while living in Europe that people in Eastern Europe had to pickle their vegetables and their produce during the summer in order to have produce in the winter because it was not readily available for them. The Baltic states, the Far East European countries are not rich nations. But the interesting part about that is we know that eating fermented food, things like sauerkraut and kimchi are really good for you. But when you eat too much of it, it's not. And actually, I think there were reports of really high rates of stomach cancer in Eastern Europe because they eat so much fermented food and food, that's pickling itself in vinegar that it actually it destroyed their stomach lining. So it once again always comes back to balance in general. The other thing about something like the Mediterranean diet or these blue zone diets where it is primarily vegetarian, a lot of legumes, maybe some fish, is that that's not necessarily sustainable to eat all year round. So if you live in northern Canada where it's minus 10 degrees in the wintertime, your body is naturally going to crave soup and heartier food to keep the metabolism going and to keep heat and warmth into the body. So now with it being spring going into summer, this is such an amazing time to start to declutter your space, spring clean your physical environment, but also your physical vessel. This is the time where you can start to adopt a lot of vegetarian foods, fresh salads, smoothies, bean recipes and such, just colder foods in general that are cooling to the body. Now, because we're entering the season where things are getting warmer and you don't really need a lot of that hearty food to keep the fat on you during hibernation. So down below, I run the vegan food blog on Mind, Body, Soul Food. I will post various recipes on how to use things like lentils and recipes that you can use to incorporate a little bit more healthy well-being during this time. So downshifting, reducing stress, moving naturally, these are things that you can work with your physical environment. And unfortunately, because we live in the external world where a lot of us have stressful jobs, you have to learn how to manage your stress and how to not bring that into your at-home environment. Sometimes when I've had stressful days, I turned on 98.1, which is classical music, and I just listen to classical music on the way home. That might not work for people. Some people might want to stream something or listen to some music that they enjoy that kind of uplifts them. Or maybe they just have to take a deep breath, or maybe they have to go on a walk or go grocery shopping before they come home. Whatever you have to do, that's your own individual thing. You can start to look at ways that you can adopt stress management tools in your life so you're not bringing that stress home into your home environment, into your family, or choosing negative stress busting activities like just reaching out for alcohol and such like that. Obviously, when we're talking about community, that is really difficult in a socially isolated environment, but there are a lot of online communities that you can join. So many Facebook pages have online communities. Unfortunately, a lot of them started off very positive and have become very negative. I can't go on vegan Facebook pages anymore because they're so toxic and so mean to everybody that there are communities out there that you can reach out, and a lot of communities right now are reaching out online. They're doing Zoom meetups and such. So you have to make the first step. It's hard, it's awkward at first, but once you get used to a certain community, that's where you can find a lot of the self-discovery of your life purpose, or that sense of belonging, of feeling liked and not judged, of being in a community. It's really hard because those things like cliques and such do happen. And that's where I think a lot of that spiritual fulfillment will come into play, to find your own self-worth and self-love in your life. Other things that you can do, you can take hot Epsom salt baths, or maybe you just light candles, whatever can enhance the mood and just bring a little bit of light and love in your environment, or a little bit of self-care. Those things are all small things that build up to great results. And it kind of goes into living or following some qualities of the Blue Zone lifestyle. Unfortunately, our communities are not really, in America, are not set up like Blue Zone lifestyles. Like, a lot of them aren't worried about high mortgage taxes, or if you live in a socialist country, you know that the medical system is going to be there for you. Unlike in America, if you don't have health insurance and you're going to the ER overnight, you're going to get slapped with a $30,000, $40,000 bill. So there are a lot of problems in America, but we have the control to basically control our own environment and how to adopt certain traits from other cultures into our own. Now, I think the Whole Foods situation is really, really important. A lot of these people in these blue zones, they're upright and moving. They live in low stress environments. They're eating food from nature. They're not eating it from some fried, donut shop, not eating it from McDonald's where the meat is coming from some factory that, is slaughtering cows by the minute. So health is just a part of that lifestyle. It's difficult to do, but every little step or change that you can make will affect things long term. So these are some thoughts that I have. If you have any other thoughts, or how you create your home into serene, peaceful environments, please share them below. A lot of the Blue Zone actually follows a lot of feng shui. Feng shui is all about moving positive energy into the home and getting negative energy unstuck. So all those things like clutter and hoarding, all of that stuff has to go out so positive energy can flow in. And that's where things like plants, something as simple as a plant, is so important to have, because it's cheerful, it's life. Plants are living things. So it just uplifts the spirit in some way, and it makes you feel like you're connected to that natural environment. And that's the whole point, being connected naturally rather than always artificially. Now we have to do what we can to connect socially through technology, but trying to live our life, getting hobbies, finding our purpose through things that we love and enjoy, instead of just sitting around baking in front of the TV and sitting at work all day long, where life is very stagnant and sedentary. Not only does that affect your physical body, but that brings stagnation to your mental body as well. All right. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you again for joining me for Wellness Week. I just wanted to say that, and I hope you learned some tips during this time and can adopt some into your life. Bye.